We got some news to get into today, boys. It's July 15th. We had a reset yesterday. A bunch of class changes hit on 12.1. Also, dungeon changes once again. And a lot of live stuff happening here. So let's just dive straight in, boys. Here we go. July 14th gives us a new portal for the Omnium Folio. That's right. We actually now have a portal to Magister's Terrace. Honestly, we needed this at the beginning of the patch, so I don't know why it took so long. But yes, there was a bug fix, first of all, for Myasara Caverns, if you've been playing that, where the Master of Souls was not dropping in Mythic difficulty, unfortunately. Now, the other thing I just mentioned, Grand Magister Romath is now providing a portal to Magister's Terrace next to the Magister's Missive for all of those seeking knowledge with the Omnium Folio weekly quest. So the portal's right here, and yes, with reset came another chapter of your Omnium Folio weekly quest. Is this the last one? I believe it is. We're at the final little dot there on it. So go ahead, I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing for that. Well, also, the Light Hook Grapple spell will now only appear as an extra action button for player characters in Najatal. So there you go. Those are the kind of the quick fix changes. This week, complete the Najatal quests to finish the Omnium Folio. So yes, you're going to be doing some open world content this week. The final node of the Omnium Folio is now available for players. They will head to the new zone for patch 12.0.7. If you haven't unlocked the new zones yet, you have to do the little quest line for that thing to actually get it done. The quest line's called the Time to Strike. Players need to complete 3 world quests in the new zone and kill the new zone boss from Najatal this week to get your final chapter of the Omnium Folio and be fully empowered to go kill Lura finally. Maybe if you haven't done it yet, I'm just saying, if you haven't killed Heroic Lura yet, maybe you get her this week. Other than that, we have a few little available traits, things like that, little tips here for the open world content if you want to do that. Obviously, everyone is going to be in there, so it's going to be a little bit packed this week as people continue to complete their Omnium Folio. Also this week, we got the 3rd week of Turbulent Timeways. Now, why is this important? If you haven't done any Turbulent Timeways stuff yet, and you want to get that badass-looking Viranoth mount, you're going to have to start this week, guys, because you're going to have to get 4 weeks of those buffs, and there's only 4 weeks left now. 4 weeks of the buff means you got to complete 4 dungeons, right, in a week to be able to get that fully stacked out buff. 4 stacks of the buff will give you that Timeways, whatever the fuck it's called. You need to get that thing 4 weeks, as I said before. So now there's only 4 weeks left of the event, which means you need to get in here and actually finish this thing out. This week we have, what is it? What's called Shadowlands. Sorry, Shadowlands Timewalking is the one that's going to be available this week. So you're going to be running through Shadowlands dungeons. Enjoy that, reminisce, get a little bit of PTSD, and maybe, you know, getting in your feels about COVID back in the day and how great that was. And we got to stay home all day and just play WoW. Moving on. New Artisanal Interior Rooms data mine. That's right, we recently talked about the new rooms coming. We have new Orgrimmar, Silvermoon, and Stormwind theme rooms. We're also now getting new Westfall-ish rooms. That's what it looks like. That's right. Do you want your home to look like a beautiful open autumn barn? Well, that's going to be something that you're going to be able to do with these new Westfall-ish themed artisanal rooms. Yeah, these could be coming. They were data mined in 12.1. We don't know how we're going to be getting these or where they're going to be coming from. I kind of wish, you know, I'm not a housing Andy at all. But I think Blizzard should put some of this shit on the trading posts. You know, wouldn't this be a great, like, October-ish trading post, maybe even like September-ish trading post item, right? You know, this way people who maybe aren't into player housing actually have a reason to get into it. You know, they get excited about, they're like, oh, this cool thing is now available in my house from the trading post. Maybe I should go actually check out player housing again. 100% shop item? I know, I don't know. I hope it's not a shop item. But this does look really good. I've always been a big Westfall fan, you know, in terms of the theming and the feels of it all. And I do think these look really cool. As I said before, I really haven't touched player housing in a long... Look at that stained glass window. Haven't touched player housing in a long time, but I just think these images look really, really cool. And I actually think it would motivate some people to actually go into player housing again and play around a little bit in it. So we'll see how this thing's actually made available. But yeah, this is the Springtime Westfall barn look. Really cool stuff here for player housing. Moving on to some other really cool stuff. Do you have friends? You're a WoW player. Of course you don't. But if you did, you may have noticed in 12.1, if you're testing on the PTR, that the friends list has changed. That's right, a remake of the friends list. a fully new kind of, fleshed out, more clean looking version. This is the old version of it, and this is the new version that we'll be getting in 12.1. Much cleaner, much prettier looking. Also shows, kind of the layout here of the tabs that used to be at the top, right? Friends, recent allies, and recruit a friend. Now are kind of moved to the side here in a more image indicated tab section. Also, it looks more clean. Blizzard says they're going for a cleaner look here. They're also adding a search bar for things, and you'll be able to kind of list out things that you can and can't do, interestingly enough, so people can actually search for you for certain things on their friends list. No longer labeled. There is still a tab for friends, recent allies, quick join, friend requests, and raid. As I mentioned before, they're now on the side. Functioning similarly to before, there are a few new interesting features such as a search bar and filter statuses, combat roles, and interesting tags. However, there is no longer a dedicated tab for the /who list, though it is still being able to be pulled up separately by typing /who command in the chat or key bindings on the panel separately, and the recruit a friend tab is also now gone. There is now there does not appear to be a separate distinct element for this elsewhere at the moment, so we'll see what happens with recruit a friend. But yeah, I think this looks nice, nice and clean looking, more flat looking version of the friends list. The friends list is honestly old as shit. When you look at it, you're like, damn, this thing really hasn't changed in forever. So it kind of did need it. A nice little quality of life change there on the friends list. Moving on to class changes, boys. Now, there are only a couple classes are getting attention here today, and we're going to go through kind of the overall large blurb that Blizzard kind of put out of why they're doing each of these class changes rather than going through each of the little percentage iterations and stuff. You'll be able to see them on screen. Obviously, I'll link it in the chat and down below the video on YouTube too if you want to get into the overall notes, but we'll go through it here and discuss it a little bit. So developer notes on Rogue. We got Outlaw Rogue changes. Much of Killing Spree value is combo points generates. Is the combo points it generates. So when players spend more combo points on Killing Spree than their maximum, such as through Supercharger, the value of those extra points is diminished. Killing Spree's duration now maxes out at the time required to generate maximum combo points, and any extra combo points spent increase the damage of the ability by that proportional amount. So changes there for Outlaw Rogue and how much of Killing Spree works. So we'll see how that ends up, evening out or looking when this actually goes live and Outlaw Rogue starts pumping out damage. Also, other class changes here. We have Devour Demon Hunter. Hungering Slash now properly gives a temporary charge to Vengeful Retreat rather than giving free cast, and also resetting its cooldown. Havoc Inertia effect now increases damage by 12% for 6 seconds. For Restoration Druid, overall we saw some changes to their 4-set bonus, actually a complete redo of their 4-set bonus. Now it gives Natural Swiftness, Tranquility, and Incarnation. Tree of Life, or Convoke, and Spirits have a 100% chance to grant Genesis, and its duration is increased by 4%. So that's your new Restoration 4-set bonus. For Guardian, we just see some random fixes here, nothing really going on. Evoker, they fixed an issue as well for time dilation, so there you go, nothing big happening there. Bestiality Hunter, my favorite. Beast Cleave can no longer be canceled. Marksmanship Hunter, explosive shot damage is now increased by 100%, but now only explodes for 50% damage. Again, this goes towards the new Blizzard philosophy, right? That we don't want big-time burst damage, we want more damage over time. Explosive shot being changed for that. Survival Hunter is getting a lot of changes here, so let's go through this real quick. Their developer notes on this were removing Flame Fang Pitch in this week's PTR, as it is no longer a popular choice and doesn't interact with several of the mechanics of Survival Hunter spec. We had it to adjust a few talents with the removal of Flame Fang Pitch, and keep them focused on the Wildfire Bomb and Fiery themes. There has been some feedback on the usability of items like Pack Leader hero talents, specifically Hog Strider, and the timing of Boomstick. So we are making Hog Strider buffs last significantly longer. We're also adjusting the tier set bonuses and other things. They're also giving you the new talent Bombardier. Wildfire bomb damage, critical strike chance, and critical damage dealt increased by 15%. A bunch of changes and redesigns here to Wildfire Imbuement, Grenade Juggler. Lunge now increases your abilities by your agility by 3%, was 2. A few buffs here and there. So kind of a redo and honestly a change to their 4-set bonus of how survival is going to work. So if anyone's testing Survival Hunter, I'd love to see kind of the feedback from people on that, because these are pretty big changes. Survival looks like it's actually getting some attention here. Moving on to Mage. Arcane, they just fixed some issues here. Nothing really happening with them. Fire, they're changing the 2-set bonus just a little bit. They fixed an issue where Pyroblast wasn't affected by Hot Streak. For Paladins, Protection Paladins, Hammer and Anvil damage reduced by 20%. Prot Pally is kind of looking like it could be meta this next season. So we'll see. I don't know how much of their damage was coming from Hammer and Anvil, but a 20% reduction, that's pretty significant there. Also, we see Instrument of the Divine now shares a choice node with Solace, so that's been moved around. Bulwark of the Righteous Fury increases damage of your next shield, and Righteous by 10%, stack was 20%, and then their 4-set bonus now deals 100% additional damage of critical strike, was 200%. So some nerfs there to Prot Paladin. We'll see how that all balances out. Holy, Flash Heal mana cost reduced by 10%, and Prayer of the Healing mana cost reduced by 10%. So nice changes there. Their Apex talents and also a few other changes there. We'll see how Holy balances out. Holy's kind of not been the best lately. I mean, Holy Priest, have they had their time in the light yet? I know Mistweaver Monks had its time, Resto Shaman, Resto Druid. I feel like those three have rotated around in terms of this expansion and being, the meta healers. I haven't really seen Holy Priest in quite a while. For Shadow Priest, developer notes here say, insanity generation from the talent has been high relative to other passive sources, and we've been feeling that there is too much insanity being generated overall to where it can become difficult to spend insanity and keep up the rotational procs. We're bringing the insanity generation of this talent down to help balance the insanity economy. So there you go, bringing that down. They're also fixing a couple issues, changes a little bit to the 4-set bonus. So we'll see how Shadow Priest balances out there. Some hero talent changes as well. And then here we have Resto Shaman. Developer notes, we are lowering some of the larger bonuses to Healing Rain from the totemic hero talents, basically the bonuses that it receives from that, and increasing Healing Rain's baseline amount of healing. So bursty shit. Reduction in bursts, better shit over time. So there you go. We're going to kill Lura. Don't you worry, Anari. We're getting in there today and doing that shit. Healing Wave, we see Healing Rain, healing increased by 20%, and Healing Wave increased by 10%. So those are good changes for Resto Shaman. For Warlock, they had an issue with Soul Leech, I guess. So they fixed an issue where Soul Leech was not being properly granted by all of these abilities listed here. There's a ton of them, so I'm not going to read through all of them, but a bunch of abilities were not properly granting Soul Leech. And then they fixed an issue where some were erroneously granting Soul Leech. And those were Legion Strike, Cunning Cruelty, and Channel of Demon Fire. And then finally, developer notes here for Affliction Warlock. Patient Zero warps the damage profile of Seed of Corruption heavily. The specific use case of Seed of Corruption as a tool is to supply damage in multi-target situations, and having the ability to increase priority damage dilutes its identity. Hedonic Gorging is a new talent that hooks into the common through line of the health leech between Drain Life, Siphon Life, and Dark Harvest. The intention for this talent is for most of the throughput to reside in Siphon Life and Dark Harvest, while increase to Drain Life is meant to be smaller and a bit of flavor. So there you go, a big change for that. You're getting Hedonic Gorging now as your new talent ability. So we'll see if people actually do that. Destro Warlocks are seeing all damage reduced by 5%, and a few other changes here to their 4 sets. So there you go. Those are the overall class changes coming this week on the PTR. We'll continue to track them and see if anything else has to do. Sam, I'll give 10 subs today if you kill Lura. Get ready for that, because it's going to happen. Heroic Lura, easy one-shot today. Also, we have changes to Mythic Dungeons, right? The Mythic Dungeon pool, not everybody's favorite going forward right now. Not everyone's real excited about Season 2. Well, Blizzard put out a bunch of changes to the dungeons here. We're going to read the overall reasons for these changes, and not necessarily every little iteration, every single pack boss. So here we go. First of all, Blizzard going through, as they said before, testing continues on all of the dungeons right now through July 14th and on. So we're seeing all the dungeons being tested on the PTR. First of all, Altar Fangs. This is the new dungeon, right? They said they've updated the mechanics and pacing in the Ravi and the Withering Coil encounters to improve visual clarity and player engagement. We also made tuning adjustments to enemies that are more difficult and chaotic than intended, such as Ascendant Serpent, Ritual Chieftain, and Venom Leech. So there you go, making it a little bit easier, and visual improvements for Altar of Fangs. We also see here Murderer's Row. We're reducing the number of bribed guards and that players need to fight, as well as an improving of the pace of the Cantina event. For Zakthuex and Annihilator's encounter, we're increasing the duration of burning steps to further challenge the tank's movement and positioning during the encounter. Oh, they want to challenge the tanks a little bit more. Thank you, Blizzard. As if we don't fucking carry enough challenge through these dungeons. Now we're getting more, I guess, in Murderous Row. So great changes there, I guess. Den of Nalarak. We are making adjustments to the outgoing damage during Fury of the War God in Nalarak's encounter. We're also changing creatures that are more challenging than intended, so they're nerfing those a little bit, like the Grizzled Warbringer and the Bonded Beast Tamer. So there you go, some nerfs to some of the little things that we're going to be pulling in Den of Nalarak. For Void Scar Arena, we're updating the pacing of the mechanics for Tazara and Coronis to make the encounters more engaging, to provide a more unique challenge, and Ratchex and the spell, what is the Spell Storm of the Agitated Void Scythe have received updates to their ability packages. Devouring Brutalizer's Devour cast time has also been increased to allow more time for players to kill the targeted creature. So there you go, a nerf to that, giving you more time to kill that shit. So that's a good one. And then we have Ruby Life Pools here. For the Ruby Life Pools, we've reduced the incoming damage of the creatures prior to Meldrusa's Chill Warm to reduce the intensity of certain ability overlaps. Dungeon-wide, we're adjusting some creature pathing to better movement patterns and more predictable movement patterns. Certain creatures have also seen health increases and damage adjustments to reward priority targeting. So, a little bit of nerfing to some of the shit going on in Ruby Life Pools. We all know those freaking big magma balls rolling around and the path of a lot of the mobs around there, and that ring as you're going around and tanking it and pulling shit. It gets a little bit chaotic at times, so it looks like they're trying to reduce some of that chaos. And then we have here Temple of Sothralis. In Temple of Sothralis, Address, Address, and Aspects now feature new overlaps that create additional positional challenges. Great, that's another fucking tanking thing. Galvitz now creates an additional Lightning Spire and has a more potent consume charge, increasing coordination difficulty. The Avatar of Sothralis has less health, making class healing abilities more impactful, and we move adjustments of mechanics and Corruption Life Force to add further coordination challenges. It just sounds like they're making all these dungeons harder for tanks right now. Every coordination challenge is a fucking tanking mechanic, really. We've also removed some of the poison dispels found in the dungeon to alleviate issues with certain group compositions. So that's good. Yeah, if you don't have a lot of dispels, that makes shit harder for sure. So it looks like they're getting rid of some of that. And then finally, we got King's Rest here. 4 boss encounters. We're adjusting mechanics on the Golden Serpent and Machimba to make them more engaging. We're also reducing the pacing of Dazar, the first King's encounter, to create more room between abilities. For normal enemy creatures, we're further increasing the cooldown of Healing Tide Totem to reduce its healing frequency. So a lot of nerfs there to King's Rest. Everybody's favorite dungeon, right? Definitely, yeah. Sam, it's your favorite week, Shadowlands Timewalking. Yes, I know, of course, it is my favorite. And then finally, guys, if you're a 6-month or 12-month sub, Andy, we have your mounts here for your 12-month sub. For your 12-month, you're getting the Reigns of the Shah Scarred Drake, which actually looks kind of cool. This is a classic Andy mount, though. And then you're also getting this new Mothy Boy, the Smoldering. Courage is coming, as well as I said before, this new Moth mount here. So this is what you're going to get. This is the package that you get for your 12-month sub. If you're a 6-month sub, Andy, you're going to get the Moth in both a pet form and classic, and this new version, this 6-month Mothy Boy mount. This is actually an interesting looking mount. I'm not sure what skeleton this is using yet, but it's probably the bug. It's probably the B mount. They've just scaled it up a bit. But a cool looking Moth mount is the one that you're going to get here. So there you go. Mothy Boys Rejoice, 6-month mount and 12-month mount, along with some other things for the 12-month sub. We'll continue to track all these changes to dungeons, classes, quality of life, and everything else. Blizzard, put this on the frickin' store, please. Not on the WoW store. Put this on the frickin' in-game shit so we can actually get this in our weekly trading post and actually make player housing again. Okay? That is all for today. We'll circle back around when anything comes out for today. That is all in terms of news.